Welcome to another episode of Prostyle Podcast. And I must say, I am excited because we have the poster boy, man, Dale Moss on the show today. I'm walking through Dick's Sporting Goods and I'm looking for a t-shirt just for travel purposes. And I look and I see, the pride and joy of South Dakota University. My man, Dale Moss, on the poster, working out. Dale, how you doing, man?
Hey, EB, I'm doing well, and no, that's funny. I didn't get the Dick's Sporting Good campaign or poster when I was playing, but after the fact, I managed to get in there. But things are good, man, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, man, no, it's dope. I'm walking through and I pause. I do a double take, and I'm like, that's my guy. That's my guy. I gotta take a picture of this. I gotta post this on Instagram. It has to go up. And so I posted it. You saw it and people saw it and it was like, oh, Dale, we love Dale. And it's just all great vibes, man. So we going to start this thing off at South Dakota. The pride and joy. You're the guy. You actually started out as a basketball player. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. So basketball was always my first love. My mom actually played on a U.S. national team that traveled all over the globe. So I grew up with that being, a big focus of mine. So coming up through high school, I was actually recruited pretty heavily for football. My uncle won a Heisman at Nebraska, and I was looking at going there. But again, basketball was my first love. So I committed to that to play at South Dakota State. And, I loved it. The energy, just the changes in the game. I played above the rim, so it was really fun for me from that standpoint. But it's random how I transitioned from basketball into football. But I think at the end of the day, just the competitive nature and wanting to, continue to push and not leave anything on the table and think, what if? I was recruited again for both at South Dakota State out of high school, and the coaches had been bugging me to play both sports the entire time. It was just a lot to do. But when I had a chance after my senior season in basketball, I had an option to sign and play overseas, but Europe wasn't really on my mind at that point. So I came back to South Dakota State and just grinded it out and had a good year and had a great team around me and got a chance to keep playing on the football field.
Yeah, my man, get a chance, play in the NFL. When you go undrafted, signed by the Green Bay Packers, how was it being a part of that organization? Because we know the history speaks for itself, but as an undrafted player, was it tough making that transition, getting into the NFL?
So athletically, I was there. And if there was a ball in the air, I always felt confident to make the play. The biggest thing was the knowledge. And, coming from South Dakota State, I was really just playing off raw athletic ability. Obviously, I worked out hard and trained. But one thing that was great about Green Bay is I had the opportunity to start with a great program that was doing great things, obviously on the field and even in the community. And I got to see a leader like Aaron Rodgers for the first time. And I remember the first week we came in, he knew every rookie by name. He sat down with every rookie after practice and went through the game, all the practice film, really brought us up to speed on the playbook. So after my preseason, when I had a choice to either re-sign with them on the practice squad or go somewhere else, it was it was really tough to leave, but I saw things done properly right away, and it was close to home. So I always have a lot of love for Green Bay.
So you leave Green Bay and you come to the Bears. That's where we meet, man. Well, no, you actually go to Tampa first, right? And then after Tampa, you come to the Bears. When you come to Chicago, we have a little pickup basketball game we play. And then people see you jump. everybody are like, what in the hell is going on? Like everybody's just like so surprised. Like, yo, who is this guy? Like you're just above the rim the entire time. Yeah, it just came out like we were just balling. It was like, oh yeah, Dale, come on, we're just gonna go shoot. Nah, it's a little different for you. Like when people say, hey, let's go shoot, right? Like it's different. Why is it so different from you? Why can't you just go shoot like regular people, man? Why do you have to live above the rim?
Man, I think like even in my personality, like, I guess I like the highlight play and everything like that. But I was athletically gifted, whatever the case, but and I get excited when I get on a basketball court. I don't play as much as I used to, but even now, at 30, I'll still step out on the court and feel great.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. I think also too, like it's just something different. Obviously football was the major portion of my life at that point, but it's always fun just to do something a little bit different. And at the end of the day, you're competing, so you gotta show out a little bit, right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And after leaving the NFL, you had a chance to go play indoor a little bit. Talk about that. Talk about that difference, because man, I see guys on television and I'm just like, how can you cover a receiver that's running that fast? Like
it's honest. So the indoor game was something that never appealed to me. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but when they were starting the new team, they were putting a lot of media around it. And I thought it was a great opportunity to get back in the league.
Yeah.
And honestly, it worked like really well for me. My first game, I think I had like 6 touchdowns versus the San Jose, who was like a really strong team at that point. But also I saw the business aspect of that and like the difference. And, after a couple games into the season, I actually asked out of the team I was with, and it had nothing to do with being bad people or anything. I just thought it was better if I continued to train and trust my agent throughout the process to get back with the team. And, eventually I signed back with the Bears, which was, was great. We had a new staff.
Yep.
But I will say that, the speed of the game was fast. It definitely helped me pick up and learn a lot of things. My confidence was at an all-time high. And it was really hard for me to make that decision to walk away. But I think that's one thing that the NFL really prepared me for, because when I left Green Bay and went to Tampa, I saw a completely different world. It was a new coach, a new staff, a completely new system. We had a young team, and we won 7 games in a row. And then, we went on a downturn. But that experience is what really opened my eyes to what the NFL is as a business.
Gotcha.
And it really helped me to make decisions moving on down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's a platform, right? And I'm thankful for every experience. It put me in a lot of great positions, definitely even off the field. Mm-hmm. So I have nothing but respect for those guys who are playing in that league and the organization there, which was LA, for giving me an opportunity as well.
Yeah. Now we got to talk about the transition, because for me, from the outside looking in, it has been very smooth for you, man. You went from catching touchdown passes to being the poster boy for Reebok, DirecTV. I mean, you name it. Like, you're all over the place right now. Like, I can't go on social media and look at a flyer or look at a commercial without seeing you. How did the NFL really help you transition and prepare you from a competitive standpoint to make that transition into, being a model?
Yeah. So I always knew that I wanted to go into entertainment since I was in high school. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I chose to play in LA for that arena team, because I knew that there was a lot of media around it. The people who were backing it were in that space. Mm-hmm. And also I had signed with Chicago after, I was there with Lovey, and then we had the new staff came in. They let me go. And then at that point, I started reaching out to agencies, management teams outside of sports knowing that I had kind of a leveraging point.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was the first professional NFL athlete to sign with Wilhelmina, who was one of the modeling agencies. And that was even while I was still playing, and no one had done that at that point. And it was just a lot of work, like grind. I had some good people in my corner who really showed me the marketing, the sponsorship side. And then I really just honed in on what I was good at, right? Sports and fitness. I was a professional athlete. It made sense that I could transition into those spaces, but it really opened up the doors for fashion and all these other things.
Right.
And when I made the jump to New York from LA, where I was training in the off seasons, it was pretty seamless. And but it took time, man. I think like people could see and think that, oh, he just jumped right into it. I was recruiting and scouting these agencies almost as much as they were me.
Oh, wow.
And then, I had to learn some lessons, do tests and all that stuff. But really, this is what people are seeing now from a marketing perspective. Right. I was positioning myself in a place before I was even there. So I was already going above and beyond and shooting with great photographers in a way that was already emulating or mimicking a campaign before I was actually booked for one. And I think that's what really helped me transition into the space. And then again, just had a great agency and representation.
And that's interesting, because what a lot of people don't understand is the mental preparation that you have to put into transitioning out of the NFL. And you said it, I was thinking about doing this before I even did it, right? And that's super cool, to hear about. But you got a podcast too, man. Tell me about that podcast.
So the Game Plan podcast, and the theme of it is in-depth interviews with pro athletes, industry professionals, and just a lot of high-performing individuals, and sharing their game plan for success in business, personal life, and also how they're impacting communities around them. So we've got a great guest list, current, former NFL, NBA players, and we also have a lot of successful entrepreneurs in the business or in the fitness, health and wellness space. And I think the biggest thing, and you're seeing this obviously with Prostyle, it gives a chance to connect, build relationships, but everyone's got a voice. And the people who have had success, there's definitely a method to the madness, if you will. And I've learned personally so much just from having these in-depth interviews. And also, it's definitely helped me grow in my career outside of just the podcasting space. But, one of my biggest passions, I went to school for digital production. I want to eventually direct, and I love narrative.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun for me for this process because I'm learning how to interview in a much more efficient way, but also I'm just learning and getting these amazing stories and experiences. I mean, just like this, we're sitting down for, roughly an hour and just talking on a deep level. And in today's world, when everyone's so busy, when do you ever get the time to do that uninterrupted?
No.
Yeah.
You really never have the opportunity to sit down and just have an in-depth conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
With all the social media going on, these television shows, and people have families, and it's just all chaotic and, just crazy. But what's interesting is the dynamic of your show. Talk about, not only just transition out of football, but you're speaking to successful individuals in their own field, but it also gives you a chance to humanize athletes. And I think that's what's super important, is that we're more than just athletes. And you hear LeBron James and all those guys talk about it, but humanizing the athlete is super important nowadays. And it's very critical, because now you're allowing these kids that watch you and follow you on social media to understand that, hey, I can do more than just catch a ball. I can do more than throw a ball. I can do more than hit a ball. Although baseball players are making a ton of money right now. But definitely do more than just be an athlete. In your podcast, my podcast, we're really trying to humanize athletes from a different perspective. And so from my perspective, I try to humanize them through hip hop and sports. I see you working out on Instagram. My man, I don't know. What was your vertical, by the way?
42 and a half
A
inches.
42 and a half inch vertical. I see you jumping over hurdles, cones, and I'm just like, at the age of 30, this guy still has that it factor. My thing is, you're always banging this music in the background, man. What are
Yeah.
you listening to right now? What's on Dale Moss' playlist?
Man, so I definitely have that new Offset. I'm gonna have to pull this up. So Takeoff's new album.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I love ATL, Atlanta hip hop, like
Yeah.
all the artists from around there. Dang, what else am I listening to? And then I'm like, R&B is always a big thing for me. Party Next Door is I'm a big fan.
D&D.
You want to get with Zoo, which is just more like kind of that vibe, techno house music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every once in a while, I mean, it's not really on my playlist, but I'm from South Dakota. If some country comes on, I at least.
Yeah, no doubt. See, that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
If you are in an environment where you constantly hear country music,
Yep.
you are going to eventually play a little bit here and there. It may not be constant, but you will play it. Yeah, just like me going to school in Nashville. Yeah, going to school in Nashville, country music city. I mean, I have to throw some Darius Ruck on, you know what I mean? It's like, I just have to, you know? And like a lot of people like, what is he playing? I'm like, I'm playing Darius. What do you mean? You know, it's like, I was in that environment, so I enjoy it, you know? Yeah. And it's cool that, like you said, man, I grew up, you know, South Dakota.
Yeah. Well, so, you know, I think it's interesting too. Like it's sometimes just that sense of home. And again, I wouldn't consider myself country by any means. Like I wound up there when I was young, but my family's been all over. But I fall in love and appreciate music and the artists and what they do, because that's something that I was never, like, for someone to get up and perform on a stage. Yeah, I can do it on a field, I can do it on a camera, but like the music industry is tough, man. Like to be a real performer is like such an art, and it's a beautiful thing, but also it connects people at a level similar to sports, like on a global scale. And you talk about expression and like your mood. And I think even just being around so many people in the fitness industry, like New York's the Mecca, right? So everyone has all their playlists, and you just get to vibe at so many different things. And like, it'll surprise you. Someone's putting out some of these bangers or some trap music, and it's like, respect, and it gives you a little peek inside their brain.
Right. So I'm gonna take this back, baby. I know you play. I know you play with Green Bay. I know you play with Tampa. Jersey's behind me. I gotta take you back to Chi-Town. It's opening day. You know, they have the helicopter flying over the stadium. It's crazy. They got the guy that sings the Black Hawks anthem. He's out there. Everybody just screaming the whole time. Before you go out, right now, what's one song that you have to listen to before you hit that field? One song.
Legend by Drake.
Legend by Drake. Oh my God. Oh my God. If I died, I'm a legend. Why that song, man?
That's my alarm clock.
That's your alarm clock.
You know, so I think like there's one thing, and this is as I've gotten older and even transitioning, because I will say like one of my biggest struggles with football was just the knowledge factor. Like when I get something down, like, you know, I'm an extremely confident individual, and I've gotten really into like self-talk, motivation, affirmations, and it's so true. But you know, where I'm at in this stage in my life, and I've seen it really manifest over the last 3 years, like, anything truly is possible. And you know, there's areas I could have had success in faster, but I didn't. I chose not to do certain things because, you know, looking at how I want to frame and build my lifestyle, I'm exactly, you know, where I feel like I'm meant to be. But I know the next 3 years, 2 years, whatever, are going to completely change the game. So I just keep telling myself, and the reason I say that's my alarm clock is, you know, I want to make an impact on people,
Right.
something that's going to live beyond me. But also, I also know that like all these things, like I've taken a step and changed paths a few times and done things like not knowing the right or wrong way. I've just went after it. And now I'm really feel like I'm coming into my element. And
Yeah.
it's like, you just got to believe, like, if you're putting your name to it and you're really doing it, you're going to have everything you want. So now building as a media personality and, soon down the road directing, like
Hmm.
those things are going to happen. And just like that, alarm clock each and
Yeah.
every morning, I got to just keep telling myself it's going to happen.
So what should we be looking forward to seeing Dale Moss in next? Is it a movie? You got a campaign going on? I know you just came from overseas.
Yeah.
What should we be expecting here in these next couple of months?
Man, so I just got back from Abu Dhabi. I was there for the Special Olympics World Games. I'm a global ambassador for them, and I'm always doing some different initiatives. My sister was a Special Olympics athlete, and just being able to advocate and just really speak and support, not only people with intellectual disabilities, but it's diversity and it's just empowerment for everyone, right?
Right.
I've got some projects coming up. We have to finalize the contract, so I can't say too much, but where I'll be hosting a reoccurring series, but also I'll be helping direct and produce it. And then, over the summer, we're starting to film a DocuSeries, myself and my production team at Moss Martin Media, which will be highlighting really powerful stories, and it's going to have a sports tie. I love docu-style,
Uh-huh.
and there's an art to bringing that narrative out. So, the goal is to really focus on some of the stories that may ruffle a few feathers.
Right.
They might be a little offensive to people right away, but they're real issues, and I want to just tackle them very, very direct so that we can all grow. And I think our country is seeing this happen now, and this is not like choosing a political view or anything that has to do with anyone's opinions on even just like race or whatever, but
Yeah.
people are seeing that there's a everything's not perfect here in this country.
Right.
Also more receptive to listening because it's kind of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the focus. And then again, I mean, live events. I'll be doing. Shoot, I don't know. I need to host the Grammys. Let's figure.
We got to figure out how we get that to happen, man.
Yeah, no, let's put our heads together. It's right in line, man. It's just at our fingertips. So, with that, just ongoing campaigns, but the docu-series is definitely a focus. And then, the show I'll be hosting is definitely another focus. And then you'll see me popping up periodically, again, just a lot of different philanthropic endeavors. I'm a firm believer, and this doesn't matter how much money you got, like what position you're in, where you live, you can really make a difference. And it just takes one person, and you just got to start bringing people into the mix.
Yeah. I'm excited about the docuseries, and I'll tell you why. The reason being is that you have to start the conversation somewhere. And a lot of times we shy away and we tend to ignore specific issues for certain reason, whether it's racial, whether it's sexual, whatever. We tend to stay away from those conversations because they're sensitive subjects. But by you doing this docuseries, I think it's important to get the conversation going because now we have a fluid conversation around these subjects. But if we never have that conversation, it just don't happen. And guess what? Those issues still persist. And if we do nothing about it, it's just going to continue to last. And now we're looking at the next generation trying to, disseminate those issues. So I think that's very important, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. So one of the treatments, and this is not saying anything, me choosing a side, I'm just being completely neutral.
Right.
Even you hear a lot about the Me Too movement, and there was so many negative things that went on, and it was terrible, all those things that happened. But I feel that it was so hot. It kind of covered up, but masked or took attention away from a lot of the other issues that women are having here in this country, and specifically women in sports. Like, I was watching the NCAA, some of the conference championships, and these women basketball players that are not only unbelievably talented, a lot of them come from broken homes, intimidate men because they're physically more athletic than them, but also they're, intense, but also outside of the court, or people think that, and I'm just being very that they're lesbians, or that they're, that since they're playing a sport, they're not educated, when really they're maintaining a great GPA. They're working to build a future, to have a family, and then they go out into the real workplace, and then they're also at the professional level, they're having to fight for attention due to the dominance of male sports. And I think there's also some issues and a lot of storylines that go into the way that they are coached and they are treated by their own staff and faculty. And it freaking bothers me, man. I have 4 sisters. I'm the only boy. And that's just one. And on the flip side, some of these athletes, and you saw a lot with gymnasts and everything that came out, on the other end, are being looked at as a sex symbol when they're and they're not given respect in the way that they should be. And again, I could go on this, but these are the types of things, and just openly having conversation that, really spearheading. And I think even as men, we got to understand too that we have to support the women in our lives, and that's just one. There's also so many other things in the business space, I think. But that's the type of stuff I want to get into. I really want to tackle those things. And at this point in my life too, I'm not afraid of offending people a little bit, because I know, if we're right and we're just in our actions and our moral, our purpose, and we're morally right, and we're going to be all right. I think at the end of the day, we'll come out on top.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's super important to get the things rolling. Like I said, when you look at the landscape, as you mentioned, of women's basketball, why don't we have more people supporting them? They are just as equally as talented as the men's basketball. I mean, those girls do a great job when they get out on the court. They play hard. They go to school. They maintain a great GPA. And so that conversation needs to be had, man. I'm excited for you, man. This is cool, man. And also it's cool just to see the growth in you as an individual, right? Because I knew you when you were 22, 23-year-old Dale Moss, and now I see you at age 30, and we're having these conversations, which is mind-blowing. But it's also great because, as over time experience, continues to build character, and it's just dope, man, to have you on this podcast. Man, I look forward to seeing you on billboards, right? Not just, in Dick's Sporting Goods billboards. Then we got the Grammys you're going to host, and it's just going to continue to open doors up, man. So I appreciate you being on Prostyle, man. Hey, how can the people follow you on social media?
So you can always find me on the gram at DaleMoss13, Twitter at DaleMoss. If you want to see a little bit more behind the scenes, officialdalemoss.com. And then also I have my podcast, the Game Plan Podcast. You can get that on all platforms. And man, that's it, So, I'm so excited that we were able to make this happen. And EB, I'm also, man, great to see everything that you're doing and the growth of the show. And I know that the best is definitely yet to come, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.